Well, now, certainly, you've not fallen for the ploy that's being run right now by the media, and you've not allowed for yourself to be corralled into their pen of thinking, of stinking thinking at that. And you've not allowed for yourself to be emotionally manipulated by the scenes that you've been shown. Because you have to remember again, those scenes are shown for maximum reaction. They choose and select the scenes on the news in order to get you to shape your views. They want the most emotion-stirring stories and shots that they can conjure. You've seen this before. You've seen this exhibited even in the movies. This is what the news business has come down to today. Okay, so now that we know this, so now how do we govern ourselves? Do we show no outrage for the police brutality that's been running rampant in the black community as long as there's been one in America with the triple K? Do we march like the brothers and sisters of the old movement did back in the day? What do we do? How do we express our frustration with the system? Well, I think it should be an effective expression of frustration if there's going to be any at all. Okay, now when I say that, not that there should not be any, there should be some, but don't take 2 steps forward just to take 4 steps back. In other words, whatever we're going to do, or whatever we get together collectively as a body and do, whether we're a body of believers, whether we're an ethnic body, whatever we get together and do, it should be properly planned and thought out so that it can be effective, so that we do not repeat the mistakes of yesteryear. And it's interesting, I watched Claudine, an old movie starring Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones, and her in the movie, Diane Carroll's character's son is involved with a movement because it was a popular, even trendy thing to do back in the 60s and the 70s, to be socially conscious. Okay, which that should never be a trendy thing. That should be a way of life. It should be a lifestyle. But it grew from being a lifestyle into being something that was so commonly practiced that among some people it took on a trendy air. Okay, that's why when I came in the house with my Air Jesus sandals on and my revolutionary gear when I was in my 20s, my mama looked at me and she said, "We did that already." So obviously she saw it as a trend. She thought of it as a trend. Okay, it's not a trend, it's a way of life. But again, it's a way of life, not a way of death, and not a way of defeatism, and not a way of the Boule. Don't allow for the Boule to manipulate you. When it comes time for the revolution, it won't be televised. Okay, you're not going to see Sharp Tongue and Mercy Jackson and the rest of them out there on the front line, so don't expect to see them. Okay, they have done all that they can do to serve and advise the king as Boule members. But you have to also remember that the Boule plays both ends against the middle. You have the soft shoe side that everybody knows is soft shoeing, and they look and sound like they're soft shoeing. And then you have the nationalist side. You have the side who was supposed to look like they're going hard, you see, and going hard at the white man always. That's essential. Not going hard at the root, but going hard at the fruit. In order to get the tree cut down, you better go at that root. Racism is real. It is a result of mind control and behavior modification. Now, because that is so, as opposed to being reactionary concerning racism, shouldn't we take action concerning elitism, classism, the other isms that create a climate where racism can grow? If there was no racism, first of all, things would be in order. If things were in order, I believe there would be no racism. But as long as everything is thrown out of balance, okay, the young have put fear in the old, okay, the dominant has become recessive, the masculine has become feminine. As long as everything is out of order the way that it is, racism will flourish. Racism is a result of that disorder. So what you're seeing is the chaos caused by the disorder that was born of racism. So what do you do to stop it? As a system, the system must fall. And the system has to fall all the way down to its knees. Okay, this is the analogy we've used before of why Detroit had to be sacrificed. Detroit represented the engine. The engine had to be seized to bring the machine to a grinding halt. Well, it's a similar thing also with racism. In order to bring that machine to a grinding halt, we'd have to get down to the roots of it. Okay, and the roots of racism, again, it is about divide and conquer. Okay, there's a common enemy. There's an enemy who wants to see mass genocide worldwide. And genocide has to do with genetics. Okay, the gene of man is under attack by non-man. Okay, the gene that has a soul is under attack by genes that have become soulless anyway. And it takes black Boule, it takes Jewish Zionists, it takes members of every ethnic group to sell out their people in order to create a new world order. It's a collective. Now, one interesting thing also I saw on the Boule as I revisited some Steve Copley, who did the most complete works on the Boule, and in my opinion the most work exposing the Boule. He is where a lot of us, if we're honest, to get our understanding and overstanding of the Boule from. Brother Steve Copley had pointed out a couple of interesting things. In the rankings of the Boule, you have the Grand Archon, the Grand Sire Archon, and the Grand Lecturing Archon. It's three of the ranks, and for those of you who are into the extra biblical studies, you understand what an archon is. Okay? It is also a name used for a grouping of high and powerful fallen angels. Excuse me. So even in seeing that now, we know what the word archon has to do with rank. Okay, hierarchy, archangel. Okay, the arch being above things. Okay, like the golden arches. But this is just further proof that all secret societies are puppets. Okay, puppets for forces which some people are not willing to admit even exist. So therefore those forces continue on unchecked, unfettered, because of unbelief. Many people don't even believe that there are forces beyond us, that the ancestors, our African ancestors, were very well aware of. Okay, the practice of getting in touch with these other entities and these other dimensions is an innately and originally African concept. If we continue to hold in our thought that Egypt is North Africa, and it's Egypt that is the home of these original practices. Now, the conflict is always, well, were the practices originally good or bad? Well, you have two intents at play. You have the intent of those practicing what they were taught under deception. So they're practicing these arts or these new to them techniques and tactics for getting in touch with these other beings, thinking that these are the ancestors. This is what they were told. Why did they think that? How did they know that? Who was the first shaman to know that? He just knew it instinctively? No. He was contacted. Why was he contacted? Why was he selected? Why do they select who they select? I've told you before, because they select the elect. The devil don't want no junk. He's looking for the best of the best. So they do indeed select individuals who are already prone to have a strong connection with the supernatural. Let's say that, okay? And do excuse me because I'm somewhat clenching my teeth. My back tooth, my wisdom tooth, is out of place, and it ain't ready to come out yet, but it ain't going back in, and that's where we at. So please excuse that. It's adjusting to it that's difficult. I mean, hey, it is what it is. We have pains, but just, you know, when you're talking, you don't notice how many times you clashed them back teeth together back there until something is wrong with one of them. And so I'm just noticing I hit a lot of words where I hit that wisdom, and it's not wise to continue to do so. So, but yeah, you know, but yeah. So, yes, our ancient ancestors, our elders, they were duped. How many times I have to say this? And it's all right. You ain't never been duped before, huh? Not from the man at the corner store, not from nobody, not from your cell phone company. Nobody never got you before. It's okay. It's okay. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay? But what they're doing now is they're getting us again. So this is fool me twice, because they're getting us again with the same game. They've updated it somewhat. They're playing the Black Pride game again. And I say it's a game. Again, because like I've said before, you have every right. There's no ethnic group on the planet that is discouraged more concerning celebrating their ethnicity. But then the problem comes in that we are not, as a whole, as a collective, you know, what you would call black folks as a collective, we're not very aware as a whole, some people are different, of our nationality of our descendancy. And don't trust Ancestry.com, in my opinion, because like I've always said, and now stories are coming out that confirm this, but I've always said that if they knew who you really were, they wouldn't tell you. If they found out that it was something really powerful in your blood, they wouldn't tell you. They wouldn't want you, little lightweight jamming stuff, yeah, they'll tell you that. But I mean, if there was something really life-changing, game-changing, they'll send that to their bosses and let them know. Okay, brother such and such over here in Chicago, sister such and such up here in Baltimore, they're showing this gene right here. Whenever this gene recurs in this pattern, it always means blank. This person has a strong sense of supernatural overstanding, or whatever. But my point is, I would be sure that those technologies are not for you and I. Those technologies are for the elite, to see who it is out here in the street, because they're still looking for certain manifestations to occur, okay, among the people. Okay, as above, so below. The enemy is very sure that now's the time for certain things to rise up. Okay, so you may not be sure that you're here, the Matthew 24 crew, but the enemy is very sure of you. Okay. And again, it's not the pride that's, well, it is the pride, because we choose to use that word, black pride, white pride, gay pride. Okay. They'll even say for the Polish community, they'll say Polish pride. Again, pride cometh before the fall. Pride gives you a blind side. Pride is not what's up. Have gladness, have awareness. Okay, black awareness. Okay. Then move without the bias of pride in your decision-making process. All right. Black pride, white pride, gay pride, Polish pride. It'll all give you a blind side. Pride always denotes that I am choosing to see what's right, and I'm choosing to kind of brush over what's wrong. That's what ends up happening when you're proud of your brother, when you're proud of your child. Again, we're talking about the meanings of the words here. We're not playing semantics, but we are looking at what the word pride is about. Okay, pride of lions. Okay, it always has had a negative connotation until people began to use it during the 60s and 70s in collaboration with the civil rights movement. And all of these things were all orchestrated, used by the powers that be to help to shape the mentalities. Okay, the 60s and the 70s was about shaping all folks' mentality, not just black folks, but white folks too. The liberal disguise, or the left-wing disguise, or the hippie disguise, was the disguise that man do as thou will crept in to white America wearing. Well, it crept into black America wearing a different disguise. Same spirit. But the disguise was, well, because you all have been held down for so many years, and Alex Haley has written Roots, and we're doing a movie on it, and all of this and all of that, which is a part of fact. Okay? But they take that fact and they set up in your mind a scenario where they can predict your behavior because of that fact, because of that variable. So because it is true that the things that you see in a movie like Goodbye Uncle Tom, you want to see a slave movie, 12 Years a Slave, lightweight jamming. Roots, lightweight jamming. Check out Goodbye Uncle Tom. It was banned in the U.S. Okay, that's how cold it is. But it's from the 70s. But its depiction is very brutal. So because those things were endured by black people, okay, at the hands of white people, this was the ultimate diversionary tactic of the enemy, to cause the enemy to give us good reason now to look at the white man who has done the red man bad, who has done every ethnicity and nationality that he's come across bad on the planet. Okay, by the influence of the evil one. Okay, by the spirit. Again, the spirit needs a body, needs a willing body. And what made this group, this group of individuals who shared physical characteristics and genetic traits, what made this group of individuals more usable by the enemy than, say, another group. That goes back to nature. You have nature and nurture. You do have them both. You have a person who is raised in a certain neighborhood. It gives them a certain nurture. Nurture is how you're raised. Nature is what's in you. What, when you come out. So every culture, we don't have a problem saying this about other cultures when you see other cultures do something. But for some reason, black and white folks get stuck on these type of things. Okay, because we don't feel comfortable speaking freely. Okay, but everybody knows that in certain areas of the world, the animals have a different tendency. The way that the plants and flowers grow have a different tendency because of that environment, because of the climate there. Well, the same thing happens with humans. It's part of what makes up our personality. You have nature and nurture. So where you come from, your background, and I'm not just talking about the hood, I'm talking about your ethnic background, will have an effect on your personality traits. Now, what no one has done yet for the masses is to sit down and map out, well, for the masses, okay, for certain groups it's been done, but no one has sat down and mapped out, well, okay, this ethnicity tends to exhibit this nature and behavior. This one, I know Singer and the rest of the eugenics crew did do these things, okay, but I'm talking about people without a dog in the fight or without a bias toward one end or another. Melanin is never taught without a bias toward one end or the other. Racism is never taught without a bias toward one end or the other. Can you teach something that you have some involvement in without showing a bias? Of course you can. Is it easy? No, of course it's not. So usually you'll get people who will get into this area of conversation, and this is where they'll lose somebody. I ain't gonna lose nobody, watch. And I ain't trying to go along to get along. I'm trying to keep it right, not wrong. Okay, not just keep it real, let's keep it right. Okay, so, all right, so you have these practices that come from different ethnicities, different cultures, different nationalities. Okay, these practices shape some of the behaviors of those cultures and nationalities. Have you ever been over a Cuban American's home? Okay, this is what I'm talking about. All right, and it's okay. We should embrace these things. Don't act like that they don't exist, because that's disingenuous. Okay, but let's stop tripping over them too. Okay, something been laying on the floor for too long. Keep walking over it if you want to. Eventually, you're gonna trip over it. So let's get these things out into the open. All right, let's begin the conversation, not by separatism. Because see, what happens then is the secret societies that boss this ethnic group is gonna pull them off to the side, talk to them private. The secret societies that boss this ethnic group is gonna pull them off to the side, talk to them private. Each one of them is going to pep talk the other one. I mean, each one of them is going to pep talk their particular group into staying in conflict with the other. Why? Because this keeps the focus off the root. If you focus on the fruit, you won't pay attention to the root. The focus is the structure. So, am I for anarchy? I'm for a total rebuild of the system. When people say, well, if you don't vote, you ain't going to change things. Voting ain't going to change things. If you don't march, you ain't going to change things. It's my opinion. I'm entitled to have it. I don't believe marching changes things. All marching does is give them a chance to fly over the crowd with one of their satellites or scanners and get a good estimate of approximately how many jail cells they'll need free and clear. And again, no, we ain't scared to go to jail. But if all the soldiers is off the battlefield because they've all been captured by the enemy, then how are we going to win the war? So at some point in time, we have to also employ silent weapons as well. And we have to also begin to employ psychological tactics as well. First and foremost, you win or lose a fight where? Upstairs, baby. First and foremost, up here. So the first thing is to realize that we are being gamed. And when you catch somebody running the game on you, there's a few things you can do. But if they run the game on you and on the next man too, it's not a bad idea to join forces with the next man and say, well, you know what? This sucker right here is running a con. Let's get him. And go put him together. Now, that is what the powers that be fears. Because then that would be an effective starting point for a plan, at least. Because, okay, we've got certain resources, certain skill sets to bring to the table. Others have other resources and other skill sets to bring to the table. Once we join those things together, we're working with something. Alone, no ethnic group, no one ethnic group is going to conquer the enemy, especially when the enemy is spiritual and you're focusing on things physical. You've totally lost sight of the fight. You took your eyes off the prize. Now, instead of wanting the things that will bring balance to society, you are being used to help continue to create a climate of imbalance. And this is what we have. Things are unstable in Ferguson. Then at the same time this happens, I mean, just peep how they run the news game. Around the same time as the Ferguson fiasco flares back up, and I call it a fiasco with respect to the people in Ferguson, but with disrespect to the planners and architects of that plot. But just at the same time that this flares back up, then you have Bill Cosby in the news, who is Boule all the way. Okay? Even in Leonard 6, it was one of the code word that he had to use in order to enter into a particular scene, a particular scenario. Okay, what a coincidence. But of course he's Boule. If anybody's a Boule, Bill's a Boule. He was the man on network TV when there was no other black man as the man. He was the man on NBC. Now, how do you get to be those things? How do you get to star in major network shows since I Spy to The Cosby Show? He's been a loyal player in the Hollywood sacred circle. But if you do something against the circle, the protective hedge and the protective covering that the circle covers you with is removed. Certain things that they've swept under the rug, hidden in the closet for you, get pulled out the closet. And generally, it is because a person is not being complicit with something that the circle wants done. So, that puts you in a conundrum. You like to be able to pick this place of black or white all the time. Look at wrong and right. And I don't mean the relative. I mean, look at the big picture. Okay? Isn't it right that in order to be a part of that Hollywood scene on the level that he has enjoyed for some time as a black man, he would probably have had to have engaged in some unsavory activities? Of course. What, he the only one he never had to? Okay. So he's done the things that other Boule members have done. Okay, I don't recall him in a dress. I don't know. But there are lots of heinous things that have to be done to keep the spirits flowing in and out of those organizations. So that's why the members take up the conjuring arts, not only for themselves, but in order to help the organization stay fueled. It's fueled by bodies and spirits. Okay, by spirits in bodies. All right? So, Cos ain't innocent. Can't be that. It's a part of Hollywood. But what do? They push your emotional button. It's right along this wave of what's happening in Ferguson, which has been turned into a black and white issue from day one. How about making it an issue of the police overstating their authority, going beyond the bounds of what's reasonable, having little to no respect for the communities that they police, no matter what community it is, being given more militarized powers and tactics and ways of thinking, being moved into a martial law situation. See, all of these other issues got swept up under the rug. These is issues that will figure prominently very soon. So all them little issues got swept up under the rug. Those are not little issues. Also, that we all stay focused on what they want us to stay focused on. And what is that? Black versus white. White police shot an unarmed young black man, or black teenager, some will say. Okay. That is a lie by omission. It's not that flat out lie. It's a lie by omission, because certain things are kept out of that statement so that you don't see it as a bigger picture or a bigger issue, which is what it truly is. It is about creating chaos to bring forward their order, anarchy, in order to bring forth martial law. I said this in the earlier Ferguson videos. I'm saying it again for the benefit of those who may not find them, or whatever the case may be. Don't get drawn up into this. Look at it with your rational, linear logic. Don't just look at it with your emotion. If you're going to jump out and protest, think about this. What you're going to do after the arrest. When Dr. King and them would go get arrested, or when that was a common thing happening during the civil rights movement, that never sat right with me. Okay, the brothers and sisters would allow for the police to do them any type of way, and holds them down and throw them in the joint, and then we still suffering. That didn't make sense to me when I was in the 90s reading in my African American history book, and then I'm looking and seeing some of the same things that was supposed to have been rectified in the 60s going on 30 years later. Okay, well, guess what? It's almost 30 years later again. So I'm prone to believe that those techniques ain't what time it is. And I'm prone, and again, it's just my thinking. Who am I? I'm just a brother from Detroit. But I don't see nobody putting nothing on the table, that myself included, that it, to me, is a effective plan or proposal for how to act, for what to do in this situation. Okay? Specifically for what to do in the Ferguson situation, specifically for that. And again, I'm trying to tell you, listen to Gil Scott when he tell you the revolution will not be televised. So that should make your spidey senses tingle. All of this is being shown on TV to rile up you and me. Somebody want us riled up, y'all. I don't know, I'm just kind of ornery. I don't believe in doing what I know somebody want me to do when I know that it's to jam me up. The end game of this is to jam people up, to put people in a joint. It's, to me, somewhat of an extension of Operation Occupy, which sadly, wasn't what it looked like either. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I went down there to Occupy. Now, I had desire to go to St. Louis, but I had to really think, and get a gathering together. But I had to really contemplate, well, what would be our end game there? And then I had to look at the big picture. That's part of what you do when you're serious. You don't talk a whole lot of hot talk and rhetoric about what you're going to do, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. If you're going to do anything, you liable to tell the people this ear hustling, you ain't going to do nothing if you know what you're doing. But, I felt like it would be like leading lambs to the slaughter. For real. To get people down there in the midst of that emotion, and even people that you have prepared psychologically for something like that, when they get down there, the race card plays on the emotions like none other. It's what had some of us confused, who was following the Illuminati and the New World Order, and then they threw Obama in the mix. And for some black brothers and sisters, they didn't know how to take it. Let's talk real talk. For some of the conscious brothers and sisters, you didn't know how to take it because they played off your pride. And what you otherwise would have seen as just another world order puppet being placed into place, you began to see certain things about the ethnicity and the pride issue. You started feeling some type of way. Pride gave you a blind side. Okay? And that's what this thing is to do here in Ferguson. To make you blind to the big picture. To make you unable to see panoramically. To where you're not seeing 360 degrees forward and 360 degrees backward. You're only seeing what the news is feeding you for the reason that they're feeding it to you. Okay? There's also this grand practice of keeping something away from you. Okay? Feel it. They do this with the iPhone, they do it with the Jordans, and they do it with Black Pride. Yeah, they do. They make it appear as if something is exclusive or hard to get, so that when you get it, you feel a cut above the rest. They do it, with designer stuff, with new things supposed to be coming out. They also do this with Black Pride. They make it, history has been manipulated on a number of levels. Okay. So what we're told is that, well, as long as you go to college, now this is a heavy trick, y'all. Listen up. As long as this is what a different world and school days was for. And I'm not talking against college. Hear me out. As long as you go to college, we'll give you all the hidden knowledge. It's in college. That's where it is. So all you have to do, just go there. Go to college. A lot of brothers and sisters like, man, I can't go to college. Other brothers and sisters like, well, I can. So now the move has been made to extract the accelerated or the elite or the elect brothers and sisters out, put them over here where we want them, over here in this pot. Man, same thing they do with the accelerated class. They come into my class, I be there scored on the test, they pull me out the class, away from my friends, put me in here with all these other egg kids they didn't select it the same way they selected me, and put us all in this class. Okay, so now you are told that you're better than them. You're also told, hey, you read our books, you get our degrees, you be good. The world is your oyster. We'll tell you all type of secrets about yourself. Secrets that bolster your elitist mentality, boost your ego. So this group over here that got pulled out of the masses and set aside, they get certain opportunities, certain scholarships, just more help getting ahead. Subconsciously, this leads them back to thinking of the source of their help as the men and women who did give them some help are still there in their lives, still secretly calling some shots, giving advice, pointing them to mentors. These things happened to me when I was in high school. I know it's real. Okay, I didn't like the manipulation feeling of it, but I went because it made the grown folks proud. You get this certificate, you win this essay, you win this award, you win this scholarship. They getting happy. Okay, I'm happy because they happy. I'm happy because they off my head. I'm happy because I got more freedom now to do what I want to do. Okay, because I done did my work, they off my back. Okay, it's the same feeling in the mentality of the brothers and sisters, the conscious brothers and sisters who go off to school. And I don't necessarily mean a physical university or college, but they go off to a school of thought. And once they get into that school of thought, they begin to at least subconsciously believe that they have arrived. They have left the other brothers and sisters in the dust because it was something so special about them. And this is the way that the black pride and the elitism begin to work themselves up your mentality, okay, until without even meaning to, you classifying brothers. Oh yeah, that brother right there is an 85er. That's a common brother. Some folks say, you know, they'll call their brothers whatever, but because those brothers are not on status with them, or in their eyes not as important, or not doing the things that they're doing, they've not been given the opportunities that they've been given. They've not come across the books. Maybe they can't read the words, but for whatever reason, they're not up to snuff. So they get left in the dust. And the brothers and sisters who have read the Hebrew and who have read, you know, this history book and this book on theology and this book on metaphysics, they become elitist by default. And they become set up as the ones to keep the other ones in line. Boule by default. Because they have lost the oneness with their brothers and sisters. Because they've been made to think that they're better than, because they know something about Hebrew, or they know something about what books and academics and scholars have to say concerning a subject. They may know that, and you may know, you know, from experience how to do a thing. Nowadays, they're getting the job faster. Somebody that knows by experience how to do a thing is not going to be told just anything. They ain't going to do it just how they told. Or if they can see something in the book and know that it's wrong in the book, this is how you really got to do it. Because though the books say this, it's not taking into account that once you get to this stage in the process, this usually happens. So you need to have this done already. Only experience can tell you things like that. Okay, there's been a wedge driven between the experienced and the educated, and that's all part of that divide and conquer that we don't play into, correct? So again, it's never a condemnation of study, of scholarly pursuits, but it is a magnification or an elevation of taking practical application and experience as being a huge chunk of your learning. Okay, and don't allow yourself to get pulled into the great working. Okay, the mixed signals that you see going on concerning Ferguson. Yes, it's mixed signals. It's part of the great working, part of bringing things to a boil in chaos so that they can be restored by new world order. And the mixed signals are, you get the leadership and the jive Boule dude standing up there trying to make you feel some type of way, pride-wise, so you're not thinking with your mind. Okay, you're thinking with emotion, energy and motion. When the mother and the stepfather stood there and said, burn this MFer down. This is part of that. You don't think they were coached? Did any of you live through the Rodney King thing? You didn't think that Rodney had been coached, pulled to the side, told what to say? I remember the old folks, the grown folks were saying that. And although I was grown, I didn't know what time it was. I was still a baby bear square. And I'm listening to them talk back and forth about the OJ thing and about the Rodney King thing. But when Rodney King stood up there and said, "Can't we all just get along?" during the LA riots. I remember my old dude was the first one peeped him, and he was upset. He was like, "Oh man, they paid that. Stand up there and say that." Okay, so and that was for a particular play. Again, they run all kind of plays. That was for a particular play back in the day. Okay, with the LA riots, what they wanted to occur then is what occurred then. No, their plans don't go perfectly according to plan, but they're good at being bad, and they understand the human psyche. They understand how to manipulate us more than we're usually willing to admit, and that's our downfall. But now today they want something new to occur from this chaos, from this disorder. Okay, they only wanted it to go so far for the LA riots. That was to create a certain climate, a new climate, move things forward. Okay, that had to occur. Now to move things forward, this has to occur. Again, I'm looking from the big picture perspective. Okay, may I also say, and you know, it's my opinion. Who am I? I'm just a brother from Detroit, right? If you've been watching me for some time, you don't believe that. It is my opinion that just like with the Trayvon Martin thing, I had some issues with the names being used, and I had some issues with some things concerning the story. I had some issues with the Photoshop pictures. I have some of those same issues with this Michael Brown story. So many of them that I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Yes, young brothers get accosted and harassed unjustly every day. This happened as if it's never happened before. That's what the result looked like. And you know, some of it can be, well, it's bubbling over frustration. I don't think it's frustration bubbling over as much as it is a geek up for the big letdown. This was geeked up. This story would have come and gone like countless other young black brothers whose lives are taken. Mackenzie Cochran here in Detroit. But, you know, these things happen. Nobody says anything, and that's wrong. Something has to be done. All right? But when this happened, the outcry was such, and I'm not talking about from the people. Okay, the people usually react the same way all the time at first. They ready. Okay, and something happens to calm them down. This time, the people was ready. And everything on the news and everything concerning the story and everything that the black Boule artists and entertainers and athletes were saying and tweeting was all throwing gasoline on this fire. And I said to myself, this is what I was waiting for. This was the second shoe, excuse me, to the Trayvon shoe that dropped. Okay, that was a two-part play, the Trayvon thing, and I don't believe there was a Trayvon Martin no more than I believe there was a Michael Brown. And again, that's my opinion. I know some roll with the sacrifice thing, and that's generally my thought. And I don't roll with the everything is a hoax thing, because I believe that what that does is that makes people dismissive. It makes people look at these stories, and if they can just think it's a hoax, and well, they don't look into it, they don't pay any attention. We always have to examine these stories. We look at every aspect of these stories. We look at the other fake stories that were done. We look at the Newtown and the Sandy Hook, the Dark Knight shootings. We look at all of these things that have happened, and we begin to we have to begin to draw some conclusions beyond what we're being told to think. First of all, you have to discern, but what are we being told to think and why? Who's telling us to think this? The news media love you like that. The news media has been pulling on your heartstrings the same way they pulled on your heartstrings to get you ready for Obama. Yeah, they've been pulling on your heartstrings to get you ready for this. The Obama thing, they made you feel a certain way. See, they can make you feel a certain type of way. They really can. And then with this, they make you feel a certain type of way and you can't see straight. Can't nobody even talk to you about it because you're so mad about it. You see? You never make good decisions when you make them under fear or anger. So we're looking at the result of life out of order, the mixed signals coming from the TV to, at one time it said, well, the president says to be calm. But then everything that the news is doing through their manipulative little tricks is to geek you up, to make you ready for action. Okay? So this is a huge ritual that involves the Boule, but the Boule couldn't do it alone. Okay, the Fraternal Order of Police is involved, obviously, and who knows how many white fraternal orders outside of the Fraternal Order of Police is involved. I like to give them to who they all belong to, whether it's Boule, Fraternal Order of Police, or Zionist so-called Jews. They all belong to their father, the devil, the father of lies. And so again, that's why I don't get caught up into looking at the package and saying, oh, that's a good package or that's a bad package, or the cover of the book, or that's a good cover or that's a bad cover. What's in that book? What's in that package? Okay. Money and respect differ. Some people believe that the key to civil unrest being made peaceful forever is to give people jobs, give them money. Some people break everything down to the bottom line of money. Some brothers and sisters, you can look at certain things concerning the conspiracies, and they always boil everything back down to the money. It always comes down to the money, man. And I say to myself, and sometimes to them, if we kicking it like that, I said, no. I said, money is as far as they want you and I to calculate this thing and take it. They pass the money. They ain't worried about the money. They print that. They print as much as they want to. They bring us into a recession when they want to, depression when they want to, So they play with the money supply. That's neither here nor there. It's about control of people. They have some new and incredible ways to control people too. Okay, now we're going to keep these down to an hour. I believe just because of how I have to do it now. Okay, and again, that's just going to be for a few days. We hoping this is the last week where I have some issues getting to y'all regularly. Okay, just know that I'm working on it on my end, and thank you for your patience and for your continued encouragement and support. But yes, it's about control, and they have some unique new ways to control people. The most common way, of course, is through mind control. That's why we look at mind control. We look at hypnosis. We look at drugs and torture. We look at the psychiatric conspiracy and all of those good people, beloved people that we know and love, who suffer because of the psychiatric conspiracy. Okay. We're also looking at the sacred secrets of the illuminated ones being externalized into society. we're seeing the ritualization of a people as a whole society being ritualized, being indoctrinated, being involved in giant rituals. And this is a giant ritual also, all right? And even the character assassination of Bill Cosby, who I grew up with. I'll tell you, that's why they started calling me Theo. Nobody chose Theo. Everybody would say Ted or Teddy or T or something like that. But after the Cosby Show came on, it was Theo. I liked it, the Cosby Show. I liked it, Fat Albert, all that good stuff. Okay, even Jello pudding at one time. But that ain't got nothing to do with the price of rice. What it's about is rightly dividing. That means we don't throw a blanket over things. Whenever somebody says, everybody does this to me, or all black people such and such and such, or all white people such and such and such, you know they're lying. Because everybody don't do nothing alike. Believe it. There's always some spoiler. Okay, somebody that breaks the mold, that goes against the grain. Okay, so that even goes for actors and entertainers. So we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, what happens when a man changes his mind or changes his heart or changes his religious beliefs. We don't know what happens. But we know this. As long as you towing the party line and going along to get along, they ain't gonna ruffle your feathers. Okay? Now we also know this. You can do everything that they want you to do right into the T. And somebody still gotta get screwed in the end. That's what makes the devil the devil. Have mercy. So some kind of way, shape, or form, he gotta jam you up by the time it's done. Okay, but so we don't know what has happened to cause Bill to lose his respect. See, he had what money came by, in my younger years and whatnot, knowing a lot of different folks, and talking to folks the way we talk and kick it. I knew a couple of guys who had made the complaint that although they was making plenty of money, knotted up money, rest in peace to Harry Hair and 7 Mile Dre, they felt like there were certain doors that was closed to them. And this was one of the reasons that sometimes they would want to talk about the Illuminati. Because as big fellas, as, people that was getting it, they saw firsthand. Well, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what my paper looking like. And I know what this person paper looking like, but they going through these open doors I can't get through because of who they know, who they associated with, who they affiliated with. So this is where the connection, the who you know, means more than what you know. That's where the respect often comes from. Other people giving you your props in front of someone who you're trying to impress, or who is also a person of respect. They tend to notice that. So people lack money, but they're starving for respect. Okay, and by and large, many of the things that we do are minuscule and insignificant ways, really, to express our desire for respect and our lack of respect. Okay? You know, we're not getting the respect that we deserve. That's what I mean. So people do all sorts of things to get false respect. They kit up their cars, they wear big stupid chains or gear that costs entirely too much based on what it costs to make the gear. You know, these are things that are done to bolster that need for respect, as much as people hustle to fulfill their need for money. So, and we're looking at that time now where, you know, for money and respect, people are willing to sell their souls en masse. And that happens to be in every category now. You can be more than a star of stage or screen or the radio. You can be an internet star, a YouTube star. Dudes are getting approached and watched by organizations and everything on this thing here. Okay? And when there's a definite lack of money and respect on the floor as a whole, then people begin to make deals and do things out cold. So do keep that in mind, that there is indeed a great working going on before your very eyes. The lack of money and power and respect in the neighborhood, the lack of order in the neighborhood, the lack of order in nature has created a climate for this perfectly imperfect storm. Try not to get caught up in it. Try to look at it, you know, look at all these things that happen in the news, because again, I believe it's part of lighting a bigger fuse. And there will be more. There will be more. Because this is to rile us up and separate us at a time when we're coming closer and closer together. I mean, as a family of citizens versus a family of megalomaniac, homicidal megalomaniac, devil-worshipping bati boys. Yeah. And they are concerned about people getting together. So they want to do everything they can to keep people apart. And they'll use their agent provocateurs to do so. You know that they paid agents to go and start stuff with the Black Panthers. They did it with Occupy Wall Street. They're doing it with this. Okay? There's reports from on the ground in St. Louis letting it be known that they are doing it with this, that there's dudes coming out there appearing to blend in like they're from the hood, but their job is to be up to no good, to smash and grab and to riot and to incite people. Okay? So just be aware of that. Okay, there's nobody in your living room geeking you up, but you turned up. Because the news is in your living room geeking you up. Watch out for the news writer's secret. Still on the way. Still going to look at Jasher. Just very limited right now in what I'm able to do in the space I'm able to work in and different things of that nature. And again, this is just a temporary thing, but we're getting it all together. Everything's falling in line. So again, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your prayers. We just ask in the authority of the name of the Almighty Messiah, Jesus, Yeshaya, Yeshava, Yahavashah. We ask right now, Heavenly Father, that you cover and bless and protect all who are listening and watching. Heavenly Father, that you cover them with the cleansing blood of the Messiah, the Lamb. We ask that you bind to them the Ephesians 6 whole armor, that you bind to them Psalm 91 and Psalm 18, and that you bind to them your everlasting favor in their every endeavor that they do and carry out in the Messiah's name. We thank you for hearing our prayer despite our imperfections. We ask that you help to create in us a clean heart and help us to be perfect even as our Lord and Savior was perfect. And we ask, Heavenly Father, for continued sensitivity in the Holy Spirit to know what to pray for, who to pray for, and how to pray for them. And just let us be used. Guide our tongues, guide our minds, guide the things we hear in our ears, the feelings in our hearts, the goings of our feet, the operations of our hands and of our bodies to be in alignment with your will. Let your will be done as we touch an agreement, as we've decreed it. We do believe it. And according to your word, Matthew 18 and 18, 18 and 19, 18 and 20, Matthew 21 and 22, and Isaiah 55 and 11. We seal this prayer by the blood, stripes, nails, thorns of Jesus, the Messiah, Yeshua, Yahshua, your Son. And we send it out to you by Isaiah 55 and 11. For your word cannot return unto you as void, but it must accomplish that which you send out for it to do. We touch and agree, for you are faithful and true. We believed it, therefore we received it too. In Jesus' name it is so. Say love. Okay, so we'll be back very soon. I've got a story. Oh, I got a story for y'all. But yeah, be back in a little taste. Much love and peace. Oh, and listen, if you didn't get to spend any time with your loved ones and you were doing it because of taking some political stand, if that's why you were doing it, think about this. How many people went over there to your moms, your aunties, or wherever you had it, your grandma, wherever? How many people went over there in order to celebrate the pilgrims coming to America? How many of them went over there to eat some of your mama dressing? Consider every time that you get to spend with your loved ones in these last days and times. Consider that time precious. Consider it as priceless and take it. You have your time and your chance to take a stand against the machine, and to do so in a way that's effective. You may even have your time while you're over there eating with them, letting them know, hey, I just came by just to spend some time with the fam. Y'all know I don't get on with these pagan holidays, you know, but who knows when the next time we'll all be able to gather and see each other. Or you could say bump it all together, you know. It's your life, too short. But that would just be my suggestion. Okay, don't let your good be evil spoken of, and never miss out on an opportunity. Each one teach one. Now, I know folks ain't too willing to listen when they chilling. They just trying to watch the Lions lose or whatever. I know we won yesterday though. They didn't send me a check, but you know, people are not usually in the frame of mind for political conversation during that time. But you'll be shocked and amazed. Each one teach one. You know, maybe that's all you can do is reach one. So take those opportunities. Don't be the. I'm just trying to tell you. Don't be the party pooper, the Debbie Downer. Okay. Go ahead and fellowship, okay, like you would on any other day. Fellowship with them. But let your mission be clear. Now, if you step in that house and all you can do is smell nutmeg and clove and look at sweet potato pie, and you can't quite handle it, you'll be swollen. Can't tell if you're walking or rolling. Well, maybe you can sit this one out. But I think it's a good idea to spend all of the time that you can with your loved ones while you can, because it is getting real tight out here. All right. So I just wanted to say that. And again, we'll be back. We'll be back in a day or so. Maybe I can get it in today and get it out today. So that's been the issue. But you know, when I don't have the space that I, you know, have the outlet, or don't have the outlet and have the space, whatever, we're working it out. But yeah, so you know, govern yourself accordingly. Okay. You know, don't let your flesh get the best of you. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eye. Eyes bigger than your stomach, and that ain't easy to do for some of you. But no, I shouldn't talk about you. I know some of you may be attached to machines that keep you alive. The refrigerator and the microwave. Have mercy. Get unattached. You're on a new diet, slim slow. But anyhow, I got to go away from here. Hangouts will have to be suspended until I get a location where I can sit down and do that together, and a connection together that I'm good with. And so we just working that out, okay? And trust me, I do have some help on that. So, but thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for bearing with this tooth. Just pray for it to just get loose and just come on out, because that's my best bet right now. But again, this has been Unplugged, Brother Minister Theo. Just addressing some of the things that I've seen in the news. Our next lessons, we are going to get back into the extra biblical text, but I wanted to get into Mark and Matthew a little bit more, to look at the personage of the Messiah. Okay, to be one with the book of the Lord, but more importantly with the Lord of the book. All right, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. And I love y'all. Peace and love. Shalom.